Welcome back to TGR News, guys. Guys, look, we're dealing with a lot of issues out there. Obviously, we have North Korea now accomplishing the new ability with the hydrogen bomb. This is something that we know that we were trying to prevent. Obviously, something that, our allies were worried about, the ongoing missile launch testings, which, North Korea has provided us with, the very courtesy of disrespecting our allies and threatening us personally in these very hardship situations. Obviously, it is focusable to notice that we have not gone to war against North Korea, and at this moment we really don't know what's going to happen. Between China and North Korea, knowing at the very test site that North Korea has been testing at has a mountain that will, most likely could start toppling over into China, which would be radioactive issues for their nation. Now, this is something that we should have focused on a long time ago. At this point, we know that Kim Jong-un does not have the ability to, or yet per se, has not taken the time to have, a missile prepped, for a backup missile. So he's still got to, go through the same stages and steps, but this time instead of testing one, we're going to have to deal with the threatening issue of him having to have that ability to shoot that missile onto our allies or onto our nation, which is something that is a very serious subject. Like I said, dealing with this, dealing with all these, issues going on, we have had structural issues in our own nation. Focusing on, the globalists, the very attacks against, the patriotic way in our nation, all because of the confusion that the political crisis has stricken our nation with, the liberalism, radicalism of the left, dealing with the anti-American, anti-freedom issues. But, when we start, focusing on, North Korea, we really have to start seeing to the facts that, we've had major opportunity to take on North Korea. And will we take on North Korea before they have another missile prepared to launch at the United States of America or our allies? Now, dealing with the conflict with China, this may also be another reason, that North Korea may fail in these opportunities and where they're trying to succeed in. Although we don't know, the speculation behind this nuke issue with this mountain and this issue with the radiation, which could be just a backdraw board for China and North Korea to be using as opportunity to, draw attention away from their relationship. Now, this is something that I can see, focusfully, if you pay attention to the very relation that North Korea and China has had in the past and the constant issues that, when it comes to dealing with North Korea, most people have to go through, China to deal with North Korea. So, it's just structurally crazy to deal with this situation, knowing the threatening cause that, North Korea has given us has been something that has, prompt me to make a, understanding it. Obviously a lot of people are just wondering, are we going to war against North Korea? I mean, it would not be a World War III, obviously. If China would be backing us and we would not be facing China as an issue, if this issue with the mountain and the molehill thing is really the realistic problem, that will really tear the relationship between North Korea and China, is obviously the reality we've got to see here. But, again, this could be a backdrop, knowing that, Russia did pull back on their situation. So that's something else I wanted to throw in there. InfoWars was talking about, Russia knowing that, they may be preparing for World War III. What if, Russia knew that he had the ability of a hydrogen bomb? Basically pulling his forces back just, over that simple issue. And just not saying that it was an issue per se as problems between two nations, but per se as a warning, as a reason to not be caught in the direction of the testing. But this is something that I know it just seems, baffling and seems a little out of direction. But like I said, dealing with North Korea, you have to focus on a lot of different other countries that have backed North Korea in the most weirdest ways. Out of Kim Jong-il's, which is Kim Jong-un's father, which had, politically destroyed his own nation, just devouring itself, even, delivering his kid into power, which is awfully, focused on the part where he has done killed his half-brother, his brother. He's done killed his aunt, his uncle, his whole family, basically. But, that's just the insanity there with this madman gone crazy, getting away with everything. This man that has, this communistic background, communistic nation with communistic allies. And the reality of that situation is the mind play game. And how does that play off? And when you take something serious and you don't take something serious, let's think back when he assassinated his half-brother. This is something very important, which was done on international land. Now, international land is a place where a lot of people, go from different countries in and out of an airport, which is normally known as, a safe haven for different, countrymen from different countries, who are not allowed on the soil. For a lot of areas you're passing through, you will only go through an international airport, never step outside the international airport without having the legal right to be on that nation's land. Now, that focus right there is important, that because the very, way he killed his half-brother was using a chemical, a mass destructive weapon that was banned by the world. So when I talk about, Kim Jong-un, I talk about North Korea, we talk about a real issue that's been ignored but recognized. And when we're recognizing issues here, we're starting to think to ourselves, what's the playback deal here? There's something behind the scenes on everything when it comes to these situations. Do I have the information? No, I don't really. I have the speculation on these types of issues because it's common sense. It's a reality part where we have to face. It's like, it's kind of obvious something's backing them. It's kind of obvious there's no serious real action going on here. And if there really is a real issue with North Korea, China will not back them, and in no formal way of taking down North Korea and dethroning Kim Jong-un from, his power and having the same people in power. It would be a complete ability right now to crumble North Korea. At this moment right now, the best speculation for the situation is what's going on in the woodworks. We know in the backlash of these things, we know in the backwoods something else is going on. There's a lot of stuff going on in those two areas. But what's in the woodworks? Because we have to focus. You have to see too that there is something bigger there. There is something really going on. The opportunity with other countries, with the crisis and the situation. This is something that had to be talked about. I thought about the situation plenty enough to say that, North Korea has a reality problem right now, and so do we. And how are we going to handle that issue? Is it that, the reality issue is that Kim Jong-un is actually able to get away with everything he wants to? Obviously that would push him to go towards South Korea and continue threatening, Japan, which would obviously, set off us again in any kind of direction right now, which any formal war problems dealing with the Kim Jong-un family would be noticeable, especially with the threatening issues with the hydrogen bomb. But what are we going to do? Are we waiting for this action? Are we working in the woodworks for the situation as, the situation escalates with different issues, different problems? Especially dealing with environmental problems, especially into other nations, borders, which is, really causing that understanding. There should be some kind of tension. There should be some kind of issue. So when we think about these issues, again, like I said, we have to stay focused. When are we going to take action? How are we going to take action on North Korea? I mean, it would not look out for a World War III on this situation. I definitely wouldn't. Most definitely not. But, focusing on the reality that this nation has an opportunity to be crumbled and crushed is a real point right there. And right now, taking real action, I see as something that it should have been an option on the table. The very threatening issues should have been noticeable, that, when it was said that, he was going to make threats, when it said that he was going to continue his actions, that we were going to take action, that we should have not, yet made another, questioning act of threatening him from threatening us. So yeah, in this very situation, we are focusing, towards the reality of, North Korea and its relationship with China right now, and its very issue, with the hydrogen bomb and what they have right now, an ability to protect themselves, before they are in ability to launch such a structural destructive weapon, as he has been willing to do with mass destructive weapons, as we all have come to the conclusion that he has been killing his own family across other people's borders. So this is, obvious. It's obvious that, something realistically is going on that needs to be, talked about, of course. But, it is very more understanding that we start, focusing on these little pinpoint areas, and following it through. It becomes questionable what is really going on right now, in deep state or in back states or what's, just working the woodworks out for Kim Jong-un to be able to do what he's doing. Now, I know a lot of people right now are thinking, well, thank God it's not World War III. Thank God he didn't start war with Guam, start war with America through Guam. But, it is a good thing. It is obvious that we have that opportunity to see how things played out. When we start seeing that our country, is not following through with issues, especially at this, scale of issues, we have to know that, something else is going on and it has to be revealed. Technically, we've got to see to the facts of, Kim Jong-un, obviously, getting away with murder, been getting away with, destructive issues that have been life-threatening, have been, nationally disturbing towards Japan and Guam and, South Korea. Obviously, now China itself, facing issues with a mountain full of radiation from, Kim Jong-un's, radical testing with nuclear missiles. This is something that, when are we going to take actions on these situations? When are we going to realize that, life for Kim Jong-un right now is at its weakest moment, and, making this video, I'm going to sit back and be like, well, I talked about this situation. I put it out there and said it, that, right now he doesn't have that power. Right now he doesn't have that ability. Right now he doesn't even understand what that means. But, at the same time, he has that opportunity, and that's the very optional way of saying it, I guess you could say. But, the point is that Kim Jong-un is steadily working on a future for his country, but, crossing lines, treading across borders, and yet, treading very destructively towards other nations. And this is something that is, regarded as anarchy, chaos, disorder, and it's very, belligerent. It is stupidity. It is, ongoing also as a repulsive issue, just annoying. When you steadily sit here and deal with the constant problems that Kim Jong-un, had thrown out there with his threatening issues that have been, if you sit here and try to tell people that a country here is going to tell you they're going to invade over 4 or 5 times, and then, on the 8th time they do invade, I don't see too many countries sitting back waiting on those issues. I don't see too many people saying, you're going to launch a missile, and keep on saying you're going to launch a missile, and you're testing and testing and testing, and they're going to sit there and wait on these issues. And yet it's dealing with, the United States, it's dealing with, Japan, it's dealing with, South Korea, and now it's dealing with, China also. But that doesn't mean China's not using, some structural, background to defer the relationship as they've always done. As Trump has gone over there talking about cutting off trades, cutting off deals from North Korea, totally shutting down North Korea. But, the factors are that this has done little to nothing and no good for anything. And yet we have said it enough, that Kim Jong-un has been more promising on his actions than any other nation right now, threatening North Korea on their concurrence, and this very issue right now, like I said, is still, the ability to recognize the situation, the ability to see it for what it is, that we need to wake up, that we need to understand that, North Korea is still a major focus of issues. I know we still have our radical leftist issues and still have radical liberals out there targeting people nonstop. There's a lot of disagreements between one another when it comes to, lifestyles and living and whatever not, because everybody's racist and everybody's fascist. But, the point is are we going to wake up tomorrow with the maniac at the wheel of a red button himself? And here are people talking about, Donald Trump being the very, worst person who has, power and control over nuclear arsenals. But yet here we are facing, a psychotic maniac, a person who's gone deluded and delusional in his awakening of his power, of that he holds, is that he thinks he's a god, and he feels he's a god. He feels that he's getting away with it. He obviously feels that he's empowered with, lawlessness on our land and to our allies, and feels like he can just, just push anybody over right now. And that's the very worsening issue that we have to, relate to, is that, he's such a small country. It would be so different if his small country was more peaceful, if it was more, nice, if it was more, accepting, if it wasn't so destructive under his power. The reality to that situation is it could be so differently for North Korea right now. But the problem is they've shown nothing but a very destructive path, a very destructive journey for us to be dealing with them. Like I said, a lot of issues with North Korea right now still pinpoint to the opportunity to leveling them. They have to be breaking their backs right now, and that's kind of the point. Every minute and every second we sit here wasting, trying to talk about these things, and trying to figure out what we're going to do. We should have already made a decision. We should have already made that action very clear before he has another missile prepared to launch to the United States of America or to our allies, especially with such structural power. The hydrogen bomb it's going to be 10 times stronger, a lot more worse, and it's going to do a lot more damage. And if we're not going to stop him now, then who's going to stop him at all? Because it's obviously, an issue. Now, what type of war we'll be looking at again? Like I said, it's not going to be a World War III. Obviously, it could not be a World War III. This would be the great structural, downfall of North Korea. This is what they built up to fall right back down on them. So I figured I'd sit here and explain all that situation right now. Is basically recognizing the situation and understanding North Korea, because I know right now that, nobody wants to hear the World War III anthem going off. Oh my God, it's World War III, and we're just fear-mongering. Let's get some understanding in there. Let's get some relating, and let's get some real pinpoint, view about the situation that can really bring out that, that ability to, see that fact, see these understandings. Because you're 10 years later down the road, and either we've been nuked or we haven't been nuked, or we have conquered, North Korea. But the point is we look back and we start understanding a pattern. And the pattern is very important, because we don't know what's going on with North Korea. Obviously, they're being built up. Is the communists, allies of North Korea building up North Korea to make them stronger when they go to World War III? That's a real awakening issue. Like I said, these pinpoint problems right now is something that we've got to focus on, because, this gameplay, we deal with this in our own country with communism and socialism. And although there is socialism on the right, there's socialism on the left. And it's just, it's everywhere. And it's just this gameplay of political, pollution and political games. But, the point is are they really being built up to be, a stronger alliance, to have that ability to also, produce their own material, produce their own ability for their own manpower to launch their own missiles? And that's something we've got to face, because if we're facing World War III one day, they're going to have more than one way to launch off a hydrogen bomb. They're going to have more than one way to launch off whatever the next missile is available for them to build, to create, to make happen. So, yeah, hopefully this is a lot more understanding than all that, fear-mongering issues or whatever you want to call it, because, I surely get where people are talking about, it's going to be World War III, it's going to be this and that, we need to be prepared, we need to start, focusing on the situation, basically. It's just the reality that, if it really is built the way it is, there should be no problem at this point in time to take on North Korea, to dethrone Kim Jong-un. At this moment in time, we should not waste another hour, another minute, another second into invading North Korea and literally damaging Kim Jong-un. Or else we are looking at a very, polluted gameplay by his allies. And that's building him up And like I said, right now he's been built up to be knocked right down. That's exactly what's happened right now. You know, he's high right now. And either he's going to continue getting away with it, or we're going to take action over it. Other than that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get off here. Y'all have a good day. Hopefully this is a lot more understanding, or have understanding for you, a little knowledge about the situation of my viewpoint. I'm TGR News, Alexander Smith. If you like this, come and check out my page. Like it, follow me. I'm rebuilding my page from top to bottom. I deleted it like about 6 months ago. So yeah, I'm struggling getting it back up. But, you know, again, guys, you know, join me on TGR News. Hit that button and join me.